Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Just a bit about myself and my role today. I have been the advocacy officer of ICRSE for, I think, more than 5 years now, with amazing colleagues who you will have the chance to hear about today in today's session as well. My pronoun is she and her, and I will be moderating this session. What that means in practice is that I will introduce the speakers and also collect your questions and input via the Zoom platform. So if you are a Zoom participant, then please feel free to write to the panelists. All panelists, you can opt for that option at the very bottom if you're using Zoom from a computer. If you're using Zoom from a phone, I have no idea how to do that, but just try to find it. I've never Zoomed on a phone before. And those of you who are following our Facebook live stream video, you can also interact with us below the live video link. So go to Sex Work Europe on Facebook, ICRSE, you can find us there, and feel free to send in questions. So my role will be to collect them as much as possible and try to make sure there is some time in the very beginning, not the very beginning, in the very end to, reflect to as many of those as possible. And without further ado, I would like to invite you, our guests, and thanks really for everyone to find some time to prepare technically and be here with us. I'm very happy to have you all here. I think you should be visible on the screen now, so please turn on your videos first of all. So we have here amazing colleagues and activists and allies. And it is my pleasure to have such a diverse, wonderful group of people talking about our report and how the report's findings resonate with their work. So let me start with my direct colleague, Luca Stevenson. Hi, Luca. Luca is the coordinator of ICRSE, so I'm very happy to have you here. We also have, where are you? I'm trying to find you. Antonella, who is an amazing activist from Sex Work Romania. And Antonella will give her experience about what kind of issues migrant sex workers are facing across Europe. She was also involved in the report that we have been working on for quite some time now. We also have Kate, a decrim hero from Sex Workers Alliance Ireland. And Kate is also the co-convener of ICRSE. Welcome, Kate. Really nice to see you. We also have Kadri, who is representing PICUM this time. PICUM is the platform for international cooperation on undocumented migrants and is a partner organization and a very important ally in the fight for sex workers' rights. So hi, Kadri. Very nice to see you. And you will also hear from Posha, from Paloma, a sex worker support organization from France today. She will be with us through a video testimony. And lastly, I would like to thank Sophie and Marisa, two members of the European Parliament, for joining us. It is a pleasure to have allies on this very important occasion. So thank you. And I will give the word soon to Sophie. But before that, I just wanted to mention that the report that we are publishing now, it's going to be soon up on our social media accounts and also on our website. But the topic, most of you are already familiar with. This is access to justice for migrant sex workers. So during today's webinar, just as a trigger warning, a disclaimer, there's going to be testimonies and stories and videos of violence against sex workers, including sexual violence and murder as well. I will announce those when they are coming up on the program, so you will have the chance to turn your camera off or just log out of the discussion or unfollow us completely. Yeah, so be mindful about that. And please, I would like to ask the speakers as well, just to remind those who are listening in, those who are watching us, that something is upcoming that could be triggering for a lot of our viewers, listeners who might have suffered violence themselves. So that's about it. You will hear more about the report and its findings from migrant sex workers, civil society allies. The report entitled Undeserving Victims, a community report on migrant sex worker victims of crime. So once again, this is going to be our focus. I encourage you to react to what the speakers are saying and to engage in conversation as much as possible, and as well tweet and go on Instagram and follow our content on Facebook and try help us amplify this issue in the wider public discourse, not only in Europe, but beyond as well. So thank you for everyone. That was from me. And then I give the word to Sophie, and thanks for making the time to tell your statement of support and to tell us about your work as a member of the European Parliament around sex work, especially in the context of COVID-19. So the floor is yours, Sophie.
Yes, thank you very much. And many thanks for organizing this event. I think it is very important to actually make, the voices of sex workers heard, to provide a podium. I think that is very much the first step, because I have the feeling that in many countries there is no podium. The voice isn't heard. And I think I don't want to speak for very long, because I want to hear, first of all, the testimonies, and I would also like to hear the presentation of the report and the conclusions. And I would like to hear, and I think Marisa as well, what actions we can take. And I see three areas where we could take initiatives. One is, the general support for sex workers during these Corona times, because I think many people are very hard hit by the pandemic and the measures, but I think sex workers, and in particular migrant sex workers, are a group which is very hard hit, for a number of reasons, because not only does it affect your income, the possibility to exercise your work, yes or no, but many people don't even qualify for state support, for example. We have asked questions about this to the European Commission, and they confirmed that yes, sex workers should qualify like anybody else for support. At the same time, that's a bit easy to say, yes, there are no obstacles, no legal obstacles, but of course there are many practical obstacles. So we will definitely also together with Marisa see how we can get this message across in other gremia, in the council, in the commission, and really push for this issue. Second issue is, of course, the specific situation of migrant workers, in particular the ones who don't have a legal status, who are particularly vulnerable, and we'll see how we can raise this, for example, with the commissioners who are responsible for migration policies, because we're looking at different policy areas, and to make sure that there is specific attention for this group of people. And the third issue is, of course, the police, both in terms of the protection they should provide to sex workers, but also inversely the fact that they themselves should not become a threat to sex workers, which I'm afraid in many countries is still the case. We've been calling for a police code of ethics and training for quite some time, and we'll try and amplify this message in the weeks and months to come. Of course, we cannot, with, let's say, one statement by the European Parliament, we cannot determine what the national authorities are doing. And I'm afraid it's very much the national authorities which are in charge of all the COVID measures and the police policies, etc. But we'll try and as I said, amplify your message. Make sure it's becoming visible, make sure people are becoming aware of what the issues are and what measures they can take to make it better, and also try and install the sense of urgency, because things are happening now today as we speak. So we're going to push wherever we can for quick solutions and awareness. So that's what the only thing I would like to say. I'm very interested to hear the testimonies and the conclusions of the report, and I can promise you that Marisa and I will get in touch after this session, and we'll be your spokespersons in Parliament.
Thank you so much, Sophie. That was a really, really good opening statement to hear. Thanks for all the support and also the account of the work that is being done on the European level. We will come back to it in the Q&A as well. And my colleagues, Kate and Luca, will also mention what are the policy recommendations to European policymakers. But before that, I would like to show you a little campaign video that we also did in the not upcoming anymore, finally, but in the last couple of weeks on migrant sex workers' access to justice. So this is accompanying the report that you will be able to find on our website today. Look out for all our social media accounts. And once again, a trigger warning, the video contains descriptions, graphic descriptions of violence as well, police brutality, which Sophie also mentioned. So I'm asking our tech superhero Lazzi to prepare the video in the meantime. And after this short clip, Luca and Kate will give a detailed explanation of the report, its methodology, what were the key findings, and the policy recommendations as well. So Lazzi, play that video. And once again, if you want to tune out of this session right now, this is the time. There is going to be description of violence in the upcoming video. Sometimes even I forget to unmute myself, which is kind of fascinating to believe, as I've moderated, I think, like hundreds of webinars in the past half a year. Sorry about that. Thanks for watching the video. Some of the participants in the Zoom discussion, in the Zoom webinar, signaled that there was no sound on the video. Sorry about that. You will be able to watch it in a couple of hours on ICRSE's Facebook and other social media channels. So you will definitely have the chance to share it and amplify our message of solidarity. And yeah, that's it. So let's go then into the report itself. So as I said in the beginning, this is the community report. Most of ICRSE's resources are community reports. That means that they are published and compiled with involvement of sex workers. In this case, we have been working together with 12 organizations from 10 different European countries with different migration measures in place, with different sex work legislations in place. So it gives a very diverse account of the situation in terms of access to justice, over policing for migrant sex workers all across the European region. And Luca and Kate were both involved in the report. So they will present the key findings on behalf of ICRSE. So the floor is yours. I think Luca is starting, yes.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining today. Thank you to the panelists, and thank you to all people attending or on the Facebook live stream. So I'll give you a quick background information about this report. So ICRSE has been developing this report for the last year. We have been working with 12 organizations in 10 countries. I think, let's see, you can show the PowerPoint now. So next slide. Yes. So this report was developed because, as we know, sex workers and migrant sex workers face very high levels of violence in Europe and globally. And often this violence against sex workers is actually instrumentalized in order to push for further criminalization, including the criminalization of clients, known as the Swedish model, which has been spreading around Europe for the last 20 years now. Sorry, I can't see the slide either, so it's a bit difficult to read. Sorry, I'm going to have to open the presentation on my computer, I think, because I can't see it here. Sorry. So I also consider slides. So sorry for the participants in the webinar. I don't know if you can see them now. So as I was mentioning, migrant sex workers in particular face high levels of violence in Europe. And often this violence is actually used and instrumentalized against our community to push for further criminalization, including criminalization of clients. We also know that the majority of sex workers in Europe are migrants, many of them undocumented. What we know as well is that sex workers and their organizations, sex worker-led organizations, are often excluded from policymaking and discussions about gender-based violence, both at the national level, European level, and global level. So we wanted to do this report to actually analyze a bit more in detail what is happening in terms of violence experienced by sex workers and their access to justice and reporting. As Bogi said earlier, we work with 12 organizations in 10 EU countries. At least they were all EU countries at the time of the beginning of the report, so including the UK. And we collected 49 testimonies of victims of crime, sex workers victims of crime. The majority of them were cis women, followed by trans women and cis male, so male sex workers as well. The majority of them being non-EU nationals, around 55%, and 42% being EU nationals. What's important as well is that sex workers and their organization were involved in both the design of the research, developing the interviews, conducting the interviews, etc. So it was really done in partnership with sex worker-led organizations across Europe. I'll explain quickly the incidents and then give the floor to Kate, who will go through most of the report. So as you can see, possibly on Facebook, maybe in the webinar, the violence were in particular physical violence and psychological violence, with almost 50% of respondents answering this question, followed by insults, robberies, sexual assault, including rape. And 20% of testimonies can be classed as labor exploitation, forced labor, or trafficking in human beings. So we know that exploitation, forced labor, or trafficking in the sex industry is an issue, an important issue that needs to be addressed, but it's not for many sex workers the main issue. The main issue is actually a more daily type of violence, including physical, sexual, and psychological violence. And often this focus exclusively on trafficking in the sex industry actually take attention away for the more everyday violence that can happen. If you look as well at who are the perpetrators of violence, the majority, 39.2%, were clients or perpetrators posing as clients. And that's really an important distinction to be made, because many people aiming to attack or commit crime against sex workers will pretend to be clients to make an appointment and then attack, rape, or rob a sex worker. This is followed by third parties, including agency employees, managers, etc., police or authorities, random passerbys. And as we will talk more, the fact that police is cited as one of the perpetrators of violence and crime against sex workers is really a critical issue. I now give the floor to Kate, who will take you through the rest of the report. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Well, I just carry on here. I'm not sure if people are able to see the slides in different places, but I'll go through it a little bit slower just in case. We have on the 5th slide, it's called Reporting to Police. And the pie chart there shows that 36% of people, more than a third of people, aren't reporting in the first place. They're fearing arrest, they're fearing deportation. In half of all of the cases that sex workers did report with the assistance of sex work NGOs. And we found that again and again from the respondents that was very helpful. Our evidence was showing that instead of receiving support, the evidence revealed that there's well-founded reports of people being perceived as undeserving victims. So we have a quote here from a sex worker in France, and she said, "I didn't know anyone. I didn't speak French well enough. I was afraid to call the police because I didn't have papers. It was really a very difficult situation with a lot of aggression and in the middle of winter. People told me to not call the police because they could arrest me. So when I was attacked, my only chance was to run away, or sometimes someone would defend me." So the report is filled with lots of really lovely quotes from people. Just to say about this slide as well, that, again, 28% of respondents did talk to the police directly, but another 28% did so with the help of NGOs. So the 6th slide breaks down what are the enabling and disabling factors for reporting to the police. So as I mentioned, the enabling factors included oftentimes the assistance of NGOs. Trust and knowledge and good experience of police officers in communities was found to be helpful, of course, and security that one's status or lack of papers was not going to result in them being criminalized themselves. So the disabling factors are around that, are around being undocumented, are around detention, deportation. The disabling factors are also around bylaws, these criminal bylaws that are resulting in sex workers being punished themselves, even when they're victims themselves. So, and for example, in Ireland, for brothel keeping, which is just 2 people sharing a workspace, now we're seeing people serving jail sentences for this bylaw. Also, of course, people are afraid of being outed, of losing custody of their children. People are afraid of being evicted and negative consequences from co-workers. There are all kinds of real repercussions that are preventing people from reporting to police. Of course, historical distrust in police and bad experience was shown to be a great factor. It's disabling people. Here we have on the 7th slide the experience with police. So 36% had only bad experience. Now, we did have 30% people say that they had good experience. And again, that was in conjunction with the support of and assistance of good NGOs, sex worker rights NGOs. So when we break down the kind of experiences that people were having, over, the 36% experienced degrading treatment. There was just behind that psychological violence. There were insults. There were threats made to people, and people were also reporting sexual violence from the police. So we have a really illuminating quote here from a sex worker in the UK. She says, "As soon as the man left, I called the police. When they arrived, officers asked questions about how many clients we had. A few days later, I received a letter threatening me with prosecution for brothel keeping. Police have refused to take photographic and other evidence. 5 weeks after the attack, I received a deportation letter on the grounds that I was not a genuine visitor to the UK. My deportation order was only stopped after ECP, that's the English Collective of Prostitutes, campaigned with me." So a very illuminating quote there about an experience, how it went when someone was a victim of violence themselves. So the key findings of policing is that stereotyping, stigma, and gender bias do have far-reaching consequences on sex workers' access to justice. There were reports that revealed that police often adopt a rigid standard around what they consider appropriate behavior for women, and that's being reflected in how police are interacting with women, and oftentimes, of course, with this being negative consequence for trans women specifically. Prior negative experience, as we said, historical experiences, determine whether or not people are going to reach out in the first place. So people being feared as offenders that are deserving of penalty. People are reporting that criminalization of sex work, that it exacerbates the problems that sex workers face in terms of their vulnerability to violence. So it does push us out of sight of the public. It prevents us from screening our clients, and it hurries our negotiations and disallows us from working together for safety. So the conclusions that we have is indeed that migrant sex workers face high levels of hate crime and gender-based violence. The deportation threat and reality means that we are not reporting. The violence against us, it remains an underexplored issue, and the current ideological trend to abolish prostitution by criminalizing clients, it negatively affects our trust in authorities, and it excludes sex workers and organizations from participating in policymaking. So our key recommendations that we have gleaned from this report are that we need to address the violence against sex workers by meaningfully including us in the gender equality strategy and in the victims' rights strategy. There has to be implemented a firewall so that people do feel safe to report and can, in actuality, be safe to report even when they're paperless. We need to promote not only police accountability, but scrutiny. It was very well reported that when people did have a good experience, it was on a case-by-case scenario of a single police officer who was being more sensitive. So we need to make that on a policy level, accountability and scrutiny to end police violence and discrimination. And of course, finally, we have to promote a human rights-based approach to sex work. And we do that by calling for decriminalization of sex work and removal of all forms of legal oppression against us. So thanks so much for listening, and I hope you'll be able to dig into this report. Many great quotes from really brave sex workers that spoke with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kate. And yeah, once again, I would like to express ICRSE's heartfelt appreciation and a huge thank you to all the sex workers, migrants and nationals, all the sex worker rights activists and allies who really helped us put this quite groundbreaking resource, I would say, together. And we, of course, really rely on allies' help to amplify these findings in any kind of policymaking field and arena, whether it's the national level, whether it's the European level. So thank you so much once again. And we now move on to a video testimony. So just a heads up. Sorry, there has been a bit of a discussion here in the Zoom webinar and also on Facebook. What is visible or audible on Facebook is not audible and visible here in our Zoom webinar. I would like to encourage everyone to, this is not something I say a lot. I would like to encourage everyone to visit Facebook or just click up that link that is the live stream of the video. So you hear and see and feel everything in that live stream, hopefully. Sometimes here the audio is not working out as much as it should be, so we are working on it. But we are doing a lot and paying attention to a lot of people at the same time. So bear with us. Thank you for your patience as well. So Lottie, please prepare that video. And meanwhile, I will just say a few words about Posha, whose testimony you will listen to now. Once again, a trigger warning disclaimer. Posha will be describing violent incidents happening to her and to other community members as well. So mute your video or leave your room or don't watch it. So Posha is a sex worker rights activist who, after moving from Nigeria to France, began working with sex worker outreach, sex worker support organization Paloma, Association Paloma. And Posha says that working conditions in France are less dangerous than those in Nigeria, but still in the wake of unprecedented number of killings of sex workers, mainly migrants and trans women, life is very tough for migrant sex workers, especially those who meet clients outdoors. So Posha was kind enough to record this video for us. I will send the live stream link just in a second. So let's listen to Posha's testimony. And once again, please just mute your video or just shut down your computer for this 5 minutes testimony. So it's going to be quite vivid descriptions of violence. So let's see Posha's testimony.
Hi, I'm Posha. Today I want to talk about some of the few experience I had in sex worker, some of the violence I encountered on the street when I was there, and also quickly talk about the accountability of taking responsibility of the things that need to be done. One of the experiences I had when I was on the street for sex worker was I was kidnapped from my city for about 48 hours, and I was raped by a lot of people that I know that there are more than 10 or 15, thereabout or more, but I cannot really remember. And I was new here in France, but lesser than a week, so I could not, I was scared because I was illegal and I was not documented. I don't have documents, and I don't have the knowledge of going to the police to report. So I suffered the pains, I suffered everything. I was traumatized. A lot of things happened to me. Now, the things that I want to say today is that there are still a lot of girls out there who are still going through same thing, that they don't have the courage. They are scared because some of them are not documented, and some of them are not very well informed about how they should go about sex working, the information, how they need to get help each time they get violated, how they need to get helped by the police, by friends, how to explain themselves to their friends. The government should look for how they can put one or two together in order for them to see how they can assist the sex workers, and let them see how they can put the information out there so that they should be these people who commit this violence against the sex workers should be held accountable and bring to justice. Sometimes some of us they see sex worker, they discriminate sex workers, they bully sex workers. Some people, they don't want to live in the same building with sex workers. Some people, they don't want to associate with sex workers. Some of these things, it demoralizes them. It makes them feel inferior. It makes them feel sense of not belonging. So I'm using this opportunity to tell the world that they should see how they can help these people who find themselves in this situation. As all of us know, there are some people who are in this sex worker. They are not there by choice. Some of them are there because of hardship. Some of them are there because they were trafficked to this place in order to pay their money back, in order for them to repay the sponsorer. And some of them are there by choice. Some of them take it as their occupation. And these are the different categories that some of these sex workers they belong. This different category of sex workers you see on the street, some of them use their hands. Sometimes they are committing suicide gradually, that they don't know. Some of them, they don't have much education about what is happening to what they to do about what they are doing. And because of this, some of them are not bold enough to express themselves. Some of them are not bold enough to associate themselves in the community or in the society where they belong. I'm using this opportunity to tell the world that they should bring these people in different category in the sex worker on the street to belong in the community and the society where they are. The police should always be at their disposal to help them anytime, any day, because so many of them are scared to call the police. Some of them, they complain of when they call the police, the police will not respond to them. So I use this opportunity to tell the world they should support the sex worker in whichever way they can, both morally, in terms of security and everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching the video. I hope you managed to watch it. If not, we are going to circulate it on a dedicated ICRSE website after the event. So all the Zoom participants will receive it, hopefully, and it will be also available once again on social media. So let's move on to someone who is very special to ICRSE. I think I can say that. Our dear Antonella from Romania, sex worker Romania. So Antonella, similarly to a lot of other migrant sex workers, were instrumental in putting this research together. So it's thanks to her dedication, her knowledge of the community, and to other community knowledge in 9 different countries, that we managed to put out this report and formulate very specific recommendations to national and European stakeholders on sex workers' access to justice and the policing the communities facing. Antonella will use some slides in her presentation. So those of you who are in the Zoom meeting, they got a link to it. And the others watching on Facebook Live, they will be hopefully able to see it there. If not, don't worry, listen to Antonella. I don't think she requires any presentation to support her statement and testimony. I would actually concentrate on following Antonella, who is an amazing activist. So the floor is yours, Antonella.
Before I do the slides, I just want to tell you a little bit about me and some words about our work in Romania. How you also say we are like a daughter and the son of ICRC, because we born with the help of ICRC helping us. I am Antonella Lerca. I have 13 years. I am a trans Roma sex worker. When I was 17 years, I was forced by my family to marry with a girl, because we are a traditional Roma family. So I didn't do that thing, and I ran away with the first boy I meet, and I ran in Italy. So I worked like 11 years in Italy. First, I was with this boy who was very aggressive and who was doing to me very much painful and take me all my money and be some kind like a pimp. After 2 years of suffering nearby this pimp, I have the courage to go to the police and to denounce the pimp. Then I work with a lot of NGO in Italy who work with the sex worker and for the writer of sex worker. So I be their volunteer, and this how I become an activist with this good influence of the ONG from Italy. Like Bogi say, we born like in March. Now we can put the slide, Laci. So we born after we see this call grant from ICRC. We choose our name, Sex Work Call Romania. I will try to follow the slide here. Our mission and values are like ICRC also. We inspired from our from their missions and values. And in March 2019, we just become an official group of sex workers who wants to make this organization, because in Romania never was this organization, but the sex work community is very big, and we all know it's also very migrants, Romanian sex workers who go outside from Romania in other countries. And we think that this could help the sex work community if we have our own organization. So we start like an informal group. We meet Luca Stevenson, and we ask him money to give us to make an organization. We first time in history of Romania, give the other slide, Lassie, thank you. We do the first march in 2019, June 2nd, we do the first protest in front of the parliament, of Romanian parliament, for asking public of decriminalization. Let me tell you how is the situation for sex worker in Romania. In Romania, the sex work is forbidden. You take a lot of finance from police, from all kind of police, from police local, from gendarmerie, from everything. So it's very hard for us. Here in this slide, you can see us, we give the first event, the first public event, which we had like more than 300 persons. We do the film crossings, who ICRC give us the movie, and we give the public event to show the people. We had a party for the fundraiser, for the first party of fundraiser also. And you're gonna see in the right side of the screen our little tiny office, the first teeny office. Now we are a little bit bigger. As you can see, the office is bigger, but we start with very tiny office, and we do a lot of reach out. Basically, we buy foods, condoms, and all these things, and we go outside for the girls in the street to give them and to ask them what are their needs. In the second slide, you're gonna see our protest. This is the image of our protest. A lot of persons come. This is only a few of them because we do the photos in the first part of the protest. It was like 200 persons to asking publicly for the discrimination of the sex work. And with this, after this protest, we give us a lot of visibility. So we participate to the Pride, which will be the next slide. Lassie, thank you. We participate on the Pride, the Bucharest Pride, with more than 10,000 people, and we had a lot of people, like a block of sex workers in the Pride, and it was very much visibility for us. And we always ask the decriminalization, because we must first familiarize the Romanian people the difference between the decriminalization and the legalization of prostitution, because Romanian people, they think and they give news media that we ask for the legalization of prostitution, but no, we ask for the decriminalization, so they don't know this difference, but we are here and we're gonna teach them at all. The second slide, the other slide, is about TDOR, Transgender Day of Remembrance. Thank you, Lassie. We make an event on the right for the Transgender Day of Remembrance. In the left, you're gonna see we do as a free shop for the sex workers, because a lot of sex workers don't have too much clothes for working. So we especially ask in the public event, just bring sexy clothes, but we didn't know how to explain that we want clothes for work. We say just bring the sexiest clothes you have. On the right, we have the two cases of sex workers who are throwing out from their home. This happening during the pandemic of COVID-19. This person lose her leg with problems of diabetic, and when the owner of the apartment see that he lose their leg and he will not do sex work anymore, they threw away from the home both of them. So we take them to our office, because our office is like also a shelter for all sex workers. We have in the left down the same another person, a trans woman, who also was on the street and need a lot of therapy for HIV disease. And we try to help her to have access to public health. It was very difficult because in Romania, the documents for trans Roma, for trans women will not be legal to do like how you are, how you really are. They will do like the dead name and the dead sexuality. On the right, on the down, you're gonna see we help a lot of sex workers having food in the period of COVID-19, because that was the biggest issues in this pandemic time, food and home, because a lot of sex worker migrants come from Italy, from Germany, from Swiss, from all the country, come in Romania because was the pandemic, and they come in Romania, they don't have nothing, they coming to zero. So we try to help them to have a home in Romania, or maybe sleep to our office. Okay, we're gonna see here our activities within the community. Like I will tell you before, free shops, assistance with ID cards, because a lot of sex work, they don't have identity card. Yes, we are in 2020, but Romanian people don't have identity card. This is a big issue. We make like more than 10 document cards for identify the person. We do emergency financial aid, because a lot of them, they how I tell you already, they don't have nothing coming from outside of Romania, coming in Romania in pandemic, they don't have a home, they don't have nothing. So we help them to start with a rent for the first month, for the second month, because they ask also rent, one rent and one guarantee. It's a lot of issues. And we also give condoms, sanitary products, and all this stuff. A lot of visibility we had in the next slide. Thank you, Lassie. We're gonna see we had a lot of visibility in public media apparition, because with the protest of the criminalization of sex work, we attract the attention of mass media, and they ask us what do we want, if we are what we're doing, and all this stuff. Because, you know, a lot of time when you are an organization who work with sex work, they will think that you are a pimp and you want a sex worker working for you. So no, we explain them that we are an organization who help the community, and we give a lot of press release, and they take it from there. But some other times, you know, mass media always try to make sensational, to make scandal news. So they not always use the reality that we give to them. They try to put us in a negative image. But we try to handle these public speeches and all this stuff. In future, we're gonna do online, offline campaigns, because this pandemic will keep us in home and will keep us in safe, of course. And we also have the platform online, where we receive a lot of message from sex work members who need help, who want to help, and we create a lot of solidarity inside the community. Okay, the next slide, thank you. Okay, so we are the part of a various regional network, like ICRSE, International Community for the Right of Sex Worker in Europe, which is our mother, and we also NCWP, Global Network of Sex Work Projects, PICUM, Platform for International Cooperation and Document Migrants, and the newest, we are from Transgender Europe, which I candidate also for a place in the board member. That was the newest, I never thought, but I tell you now. And we have now a project with ILGA Europe. We're not still a member, but we have a project with ILGA Europe by the help of Luca Stevenson, who we work together for the project. Thank you for the help. We take this grant from ILGA Europe. He will help us very much for the future projects. And of course, we participate in a lot of international conference, training, workshops, and events. Like you're gonna see the next slide. We was participating in the first protest in Sweden, calling for the decriminalization of sex work. You know, the mass media say a lot of shit, but this is the truth, that we were there for asking the decriminalization. And of course, we can go to the last slide, Nazi, so we should shorten the time. Thank you very much. You can find us on www.sexworkcall.ro and also on Instagram and Facebook, as you can see in this slide. And of course, we wait your emails on sexworkcall@protonmail.com. Thank you very much. That was all.
Thank you so much, Antonella. It was actually really nice to see how much you developed in the past couple of years and how well connected you are to a lot of international organizations as well. So it is very inspirational to me. So on this note, I've seen that you're also a PICUM member. So I will turn to Kadri. Sorry, I'm introducing everyone by their first name. This is, you know, kind of like me trying to break up with this very normative, formal NGO, civil society narratives and ways of talking. I hope you don't get offended by that. So Kadri will tell us about their work with PICUM, the platform for international cooperation on undocumented migrants. PICUM adopted quite recently a resolution on sex work decriminalization. So let's listen to Kadri and on the issue of how undocumented rights, migrant rights intersect with sex workers' rights. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting, and also congratulations for your report, which obviously resonates a lot with PICUM and what we do and what we've done in the past decades, actually. So maybe just quickly to say where we come into this topic as PICUM, as an organization, and then just what are some of the opportunities on European level on this, and a couple of our recommendations. So yeah, PICOM is a second-tier organization, meaning that we work with organizations. We are a network organization. We have 167 organizations in our membership from 35 countries. So we don't work directly with migrants, but we support organizations working with undocumented migrants, and we represent them on a European level. So that's kind of what we do. So obviously access to justice to undocumented migrants has been one of the core areas and issues that we've been working with because like has been mentioned today many times, what often happens is that if you're undocumented, you are a victim of crime, you don't report it, or if you report to the police, then you risk deportation. So we have lots of examples of this happening. And we see that this criminalization of migration and migrants, so in many European countries, being undocumented is actually a crime. So we see how criminalization actually increases vulnerabilities. It actually harms people in a very serious way. So where does the work, so sex work comes in as a kind of second layer of criminalization. So it's like a situation of double criminalization. It increases vulnerability to harm and mistreatment doubly. So that's why last year PICOM published a report, which also Pogi mentioned, on safeguarding the human rights and dignity of undocumented sex workers, because we see that being undocumented and a sex worker, it really compounds the discrimination, social exclusion, the precarious situation. And we also see that we really need to kind of work on this together and have some sort of a holistic approach. So that's why PICOM is putting its weight behind this doubly criminalized group. So maybe just to kind of see that, just to mention as well, what are some of the areas that we're working on now and what are the opportunities. So we've seen the EU migration policy kind of moving in a very problematic direction for a long time. And this was now cemented, unfortunately, last month with the European Pact on Asylum and Migration, which basically, I mean, it just intends to crack down on people more, people who are entering to Europe irregularly. It's going to lead to more detention and just generally more hardship to marginalized people. So we also kind of are, what we expect is more surveillance, more policing of undocumented, including undocumented sex workers. And yeah, like I said before, in safe reporting as well, still people who engage with authorities to report a crime and to actually get protection, they in reality actually face a possibility of deportation. So one example where we have had some success on EU level is the kind of victims of crime policy area. So the EU published a directive on protection of victims in 2012, and we were very happy to get it extended to all victims of crime, regardless of status. So that is in there since 2012. However, there hasn't been anything to kind of implement that, or what does that actually mean to people? Okay, it applies, but if you still can't go to the police, if you still, risk deportation, then you can't also avail to that directive of protection. So now recently the EU has adopted a victim strategy, which is supposed to kind of implement the directive and kind of make more practical steps. So we do see some positive developments there. And we really see that Commission specifically is asking member states to take action to ensure that all victims, including migrant victims, have access to justice independent to the resident status. So this is the concept of firewall, what we call, to separate protection from migration enforcement. And also the European Commission commits to to kind of produce some tools for member states on how to do this practically. So this kind of, for us, in this whole context of very hostile environment for migrants, in particular undocumented migrants, we really see this as a ray of hope. And then just to mention two other policies where we work on is the strategy on gender equality, also adopted this year, where also the Commission is proposing additional measures to prevent and combat specific forms of gender-based violence. So I think that's also a potential opportunity to work on this issue further, as well as the action plan against racism, which was also adopted in September, which wants to kind of mainstream the equality dimension across all EU policy areas. So I think there is also possibilities to work with further. And then just to conclude, there are some opportunities, I think, for you as well to work with the EU on this. I think one thing that really resonated from your report as well with us is this the critical role of community-based and non-governmental organizations, who are, many of them are specialized in providing support to these affected communities, to promote, in solidarity, to promote the social support, empowerment, and accompaniment through the justice system. I think that's a really crucial thing, and something that we want to also always highlight in terms of like EU funding to organizations like that, or support that national governments would actually provide an environment where these organizations can work and accompany people who have difficulties accessing justice. And where actually, people have to go, or law enforcement is a partner, then we really need to put in place these firewalls so that migration status is separate, and that it's a protection-centered approach without immigration consequences. And lastly, we also see that decriminalization is a hugely important practical tool actually to improve safety, both decriminalization of irregular status as well as sex work. Yeah, that's shortly kind of our input today. Thanks.
Thank you, Kadri. It was really, really concise. So thank you for keeping it short as well, because we are running a bit out of time. We received a question from the audience in the meantime, directed to Sophie initially, but I think it also goes for Marisa. So the question is, many officials at the EU level are very hostile to sex workers, namely abolitionists. Is there any allies of sex workers, individuals or political groups, and how do they support sex workers' rights in various EU institutions? So Marisa, you don't need to reply to this if you wanted to talk about something else, but we would be curious to hear your views and Sophie's views on it as well. So the floor is yours, Marisa. If anyone wants to ask anything else, this is the very, very final call, both to those who are watching us on Facebook, also to people here. So send me your questions using the Q&A function or the comments on Facebook. So Marisa.
Thank you so much. And honestly, this is being a very, very interesting webinar, and I thank you for the presentation of the study, especially to Luca and Kate, but also the important and brave testimonies of Posha and Antonella, and the work that you are doing at the committee, and also concerning undocumented people across Europe. And I also want to say hi to Sophie, and just to try to answer very briefly to the question, and then I want to add a few comments to this presentation and to the study, and also the testimonies. To start to answer to the question, of course you have allies. You have two of them here with you today, Sophie and I. But in any case, it's not an easy task. And it's not an easy work to do at the European level, because We know that the abolish trend is increasing and not being reduced, and unfortunately, recently, and with also the COVID crisis, we see that more and more we assist this type of debate. I can talk on behalf of my own group, of my own political group. The United Left is an internal fight that I have all the time, because some parties of my group really work in the sense of the abolish prostitution and sex work orientation. So it's not only inside the parliament, inside the institutions, but sometimes inside your own political group, and that's one of the difficulties I have. But in any case, I want to tell you that, first of all, this study is really important to highlight not only the difficulties, but also the problems that you are facing. And we are facing as well as representatives. And of course, being side by side with you, we are also facing these problems. And I want to say that in my case, I decided, together with another colleague of my own national party, who is also a member of the European Parliament, we have decided to hire an university center of studies in order to elaborate a study concerning sex workers across Europe. We are waiting for the outcome of this study in the next week, I would say the maximum next week. And so the study that we have asked for is a study both to identify and to try to highlight the different legislation existing in the different member states, in order that we can know what is the ground that we are working in, on the one hand. On the other hand, we asked also to the researchers to identify the different types of activism. And by activism, I mean the good side, our side, but also the side of the ones who want to abolish sex work, and to see the map that we have across the European Union, and to see how they are organized and the networks that we have, in order that we can have a better ground to propose our recommendations and our legislative proposals. And also, I think it can be a very good tool for yourselves, in the sense that you can have access to data, that we have an opinion and an idea about what is going on, but is good to have the mapping done across Europe, in order that we know what we can deal with. And of course, we'll make this study available to our colleagues like Sophie, who work with us in this, but also to you and to the organizations, and let's see what we can do after that. And so very briefly, and after the presentation of the study, and of course I want also to save some space to Sophie to answer to the question which was raised to her, I want to say that of course we have a major problem when it comes to decision making and proposal, which is the exclusion of the sex workers from the policy and decision making process. And studies like these that you have been presenting are really key to that, because we need to hear the voices of those who are involved and engaged. And of course, we can be your spokesperson, but it's not the same if we don't involve and engage those who are directly involved. So I think that only with giving the voice to sex workers when it comes to policy and decision making, we can have a proper assessment of the difficulties concerning access to justice, but also the way the COVID crisis is affecting even more this community, and of course how we are in a situation that we are facing even more marginalization of the sex workers. Of course, we also have to take this report and all the other work that you have been doing in order to make the violence against sex workers a real issue, and is not yet a real issue when it comes to decision making and when it comes to policy making. So we have to include these as an important dimension, of course, with the levels. And like Kadri was saying, when it comes to undocumented sex workers, we are talking about a double criminalization. So we have to take this very seriously, and to bring this to the policy making, taking into account the different levels. We have also to take into account the dimension of the self-organization of the sex workers, and of course to always bring the issue and the debate of the labor rights. I'm in a political parliamentary group which stands a lot for labor rights, but some of them don't stand the same way for the sex workers' labor rights. So I think we have to bring this in all its dimensions. And of course, again, to stay in the human rights side and also with the international organizations like the International Amnesty International, or the World Health Organization when it comes to fight the abolishment proposal inside. Just a final note to say that the Migration Pact has been presented, and although it is a very disappointing approach from the Commission, we still have work to do, and I would like to very much to count on you also to help us making proposals that can change and modify the very difficult positions already assumed by the Commission. But in any case, we still have our work to be done at the Parliament, and I think that we should be able to work together, not only Sophie and I, but also with you, in order to make these proposals. So thank you so much again, and sorry if I took too much time, but I have a lot of things to say, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Marisa, so much. And Sophie, would you like to react, answer to this question on lies in European institutions?
Yes. Thank you for allowing me to come back just for a minute, because I was triggered by that question because it's a very important one. And I think, of course, there is your share of abolitionists and there are people that you cannot reason with. The point is that on other issues like gender equality, for example, we usually have a very broad progressive alliance and often a feminist alliance and what have you. But on this issue, as Marisa just said, the camps are split. There are many feminists. I did a year ago, we did the photo exhibition. You see the book behind me. I mean, I was attacked by my feminist allies because they said, well, you're facilitating the oppression and exploitation of women. Well, actually, no. So that is a very difficult one. I think that's what Marisa just described. But there's a third group, which is by far the biggest, and that is, the people who are just totally unaware. They're just ignorant. They don't know. It's not an issue that they're looking into. Also, because very often they're not approached in their political capacity. There is no, there's no, let's say, electorate. It's not a constituency. So I think there's a lot that we can do to, as Marisa said, and I'm very interested to see the report that's being prepared by your political group. But a final remark. Regardless of what the legal situation is in any member state, whether sex work is legal or not, human rights always apply. And that is something that, whether you're a feminist or not, or an abolitionist or not, human rights always apply. And that is, I think, the first thing that we need to fight for. But you have Marisa and myself as allies, and we'll be working to bring more on board.
Thank you so much. Good to know we can count on someone at least. So thank you so much for your time today. And I won't go into more questions. We received some. I will try to answer everyone in different capacities after the event. I don't want to hold up anyone from their lunch break or whatever they are going around. Thank you very much once again to all of those listening in through Zoom or on Facebook Live. We will be uploading all the videos, all the reports, all the testimonies today, and you will also be able to rewatch watch for the first time this discussion here on our social media and YouTube. So please stay with us, not just this event, but after as well, and help us support the voice of the sex worker community, the voice of the migrant sex worker community, especially in Europe. I would just like to ask all the speakers, panelists today, if they have anything urgent, burning that they would like to share. And after that, we will finish with this webinar. Anyone? Or everyone said what they wanted. Luca, please.
Just briefly, the report will be available on our website later today. And we also invite, if you work for EU or Council of Europe or OSCE institution, and you would like us to present the report to your team and have more in-depth conversation about this report, please contact us. We have time and availability to come and talk to you and discuss some of the findings with you. And personally, thanks a lot to all the participants and really to all the organizations that work so hard on this report. We couldn't name them all during the webinar, but without the work of all these sex worker, individual and organization on the ground, we wouldn't have been able to do this report. So thanks again to all the sex workers who are involved in this project.
Okay, thank you then, and have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.